There we go. Creatives, community, kind folks out there. Hello, welcome to RPG with DBJ. We are doing a series of movies to RPG and TV to RPGs. And why? Because, well, we're getting towards the last season of Game of Thrones, and we're coming upon the 22nd movie in the long connected series of heroes in the Avengers Endgame. So in kind of a celebration of that, and of course being part of the RPG community, we're going to take each character, dissect them from major characters to minor characters to villains, and everything in between. What can we learn? What can we use? What can we steal and place into our RPG content? Good morning, Rickard Johansson. What's going on there, man? Today we're doing Black Panther, and strangely enough, here, especially here in the States, a somewhat controversial figure, even though most people fail to realize that Stan Lee himself, who helped usher in Thor and Spider-Man and the Hulk, was the one who created Black Panther before even the idea of the Black Panther Party even existed. And this was his one of a huge number of his events to change what he thought was an inequality in representation at its time back in the 60s into the Marvel universe. So what is Black Panther about? Like, what's the purpose? Like, where did this character come from? And I don't mean origin specifically, like he came from Africa, of course, but and not just who created him, but what location, what icon does he set inside of the MCU? Wicker says, wait, he's older than the Black Panther Party? Yeah, oh yeah, he is. Everyone says the version we're familiar with? No, yeah, he's older than the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther character, and every character in comic books has been done and redone and rewritten and reimagined, and sometimes these characters are not consistent, right? Like a Thor or the X-Men, that kind of thing. They've been around. Even when one issue ends, there's always three more before the other characters came about. Yes, Zevron agrees. Says the original idea for him, yes, before the party. Yeah, and for some reason, and it always cracks me up that apparently Black Panther and characters of his ilk tend to cause, I don't know, controversy when me as a comic book fan in general, I mean, there was no controversy when every other character existed, but a character who's an African hero from Africa and surrounded by other African individuals is a controversy. It's weird. It's like if a superhero came from Japan, I would pretty much assume that they would be Japanese surrounded by other Japanese individuals. Rickard says, yeah, predates the party with about 4 months, according to Wikipedia. Yep. Yes. And sometimes I think just people, I don't know, maybe people just have very thin egos. They feel threatened by something like that. Because the Black Panther originally as a comic book character was a science fiction character. He fought robots and aliens and mole people, and the character actually has original purpose really had very little to do with politics and controversy and racial inequality and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So everyone says Superman, the illegal immigrant based off of Jewish men. Exactly. And nothing wrong with that. It's the idea was that Scott Post that's a very nice way to put it, DBJ. Yeah, he was a very science fiction character, and in some ways, thank you for very much for saying that, Scott Post. But in many ways, um, it was Stan Lee's version of basically saying, you know what, I'm just gonna make another character, science fiction, and I'm gonna say it so you guys don't have to say it. Yeah. That Black Panther really is a Mary Sue character. Black Panther is the African nation's Marvel's version of like Superman, meaning like I don't mean Superman like from an alien planet with X-ray eyes or something. But what I mean is here's a character that epitomizes the best physically, socially, mentally. Like here's a person who's at the top of his game and goes on adventures and things and solves every problem through his like a Doc Savage, like a Superman, a blending of, in the Marvel universe, a blending of Iron Man and Captain America, being physically superior, having lots of money, having a great political influence because he's a king. And essentially that's his purpose, right? And Stan Lee created him that way. Like, you know what? We don't have, he's like probably looked around and was like, wait a minute, we don't have a Black superhero, like a truly African superhero. That's kind of strange. This is the civil rights era. This is, maybe I underserved this community, and hey, they buy comic books too. Let's try this character. And that's exactly what happened. Yes, everyone says, but because people can ignore that because his skin isn't a different color, nobody cares. Right. Talking about Superman. Right. Exactly. So, but where does that bring us to today? Like what do we have today? And is it okay? How can we use a character who's basically like Mr. Perfect? As everyone says, just want to add this one last thing. The whole don't add politics to comics thing. Comics got popular thanks to comics like Captain America punching Nazis. They've always been political. As a matter of fact, well, I can't go get it right now, but there have been many documentaries and lots of books printed out that in general, each decade of comic books has always been a reflection of the political ideals at that time, either in support or against, or reflecting what was going on at that time. For example, there is a very iconic comic book series based around the bombing of the Twin Towers. So, and many other things, whether it comes to drug addiction, or whether it comes to environmental issues with human trafficking, corrupt police. Like there's so many of those political stories used. As a matter of fact, the unfortunate small but very vocal racist or actually thin-skinned individuals voiced their displeasure that the first Captain America was African American, because it was based on a reflection of the Tuskegee experiment, in which they used sexual STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and injected them into unknowingly. I mean, did not tell people they were injecting them into African American individuals to test the effects of and monitor the effects of sexually transmitted diseases. They also did an experiment like that with many people when it came to radiation treatments, although that one wasn't specifically African American. But yeah, the government has been doing that for a long time, and so the writers decided to do a parallel in the origins of Captain America. And during that comic book, Captain America went to visit the gentleman that survived the experiment, who became mentally disabled at that time, to give honor to the person that came before him, who helped pave the path to make who Captain America was that day. But the Black Panther and the movie itself is not necessarily about Black Panther, and this comes about when it comes to characters who are the pinnacle of the paragons of what they are. It's not really about challenging them. It's usually like it's not really about them being challenged physically or being challenged like uh, basically bringing them down and making them weak. It's more or less challenging the ideals they represent. You know, even when it comes to characters like Superman or I don't know, Supreme or hell, even Thor sometimes, right? Thor originally, yeah, I agree, Zev. The Black Panther movie should have been called Wakanda. Yeah, because it's not really about them, it's about the people that surrounded them. Honestly, despite the acting prowess of Boseman is playing Black Panther, he was actually rather minor because he doesn't go through much of a change, and that can be kind of boring for a character that doesn't change or doesn't have a lot of ups and downs. But it was a reflection of the entire entourage, and I think this is what we can really steal from the Black Panther and the Black Panther movie is what an amazing ensemble it was that surrounded this individual and how each and every one of them represented an opinion, a focus, and yet they still got along. I think the Black Panther movie in our classic Dungeons and Dragons games represents the adventuring party, where each member of the adventuring party has a different opinion, they have a different focus, they have a different skill set maybe, and they even want to so-called like argue about how they should go about doing things, but at the same time they're like, you know what, but we have a leader, we're going to let him decide, or we're all going to get together and try to hash this out. And maybe the so-called pinnacle character, it's almost like the you could do this with a Persian, Egyptian styled game where you have a prince who has been exiled from his kingdom and is surrounded by aunts and uncles and sages and chancellors and wizards and even servants and valets and childhood friends, and they all have a different opinion about what this person can do, but they all respect the authority that this one person has. And that's where Black Panther, I think, shines. The Black Panther movie shines because of the ensemble. How great was M'Baku, that headed the Jabari tribe of the mountain gorillas, and how great was Okoye, one of his Dora Milaje, the bodyguards that surrounded him, and her opinion as to the standards that the king should hold whenever someone raised their voice to the king. It wasn't Black Panther that got his hackles all raised. She was stepping up like, don't make me kick your rear end, right? And so I think that would make a great thing. Zevran says maybe if you're going off of D&D, the Black Panther is an actual being blessed by a god. In this case, the Panther god is Bast. You're an Aasimar who gains their powers fully when you accept the role. What a great. I mean, yes, we love to default to Warlock, but what a great origin story for a character, right? Like, hey, my character became first level or whatever level you want to use, system you want to use, when they accepted the role, and then they gain those abilities to do that. As everyone says, Egyptian. At first, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. Yeah, my thing is, how can we take everything about these characters and then you kind of like rub off the serial numbers? Like, how can we use this? The idea of the child, and I say child, but because that's a trope, the child prince or princess that leaves their kingdom and is surrounded by capable people. In Black Panther is surrounded by extremely capable agents who are speaking in his ear, trying to convince him to go about things differently, maybe, or stick to tradition, maybe, in terms of being the new leader of this hidden nation. And then now what do we do? So going back to like what Zevron is saying about Egyptian, the idea of, imagine this individual has to wander the deserts and confront all kinds of magic and mysticism and threats of nature and such, and they are surrounded by maybe there's an assassin that is the royal assassin and apothecary or something that uses poisons and hides in the dark and wants to speak to the prince and is absolutely loyal to this prince of Egypt or what have you. And then maybe there's a sage who's supposed to teach him about books, and maybe there's a warrior that's supposed to teach him about using bladed weapons, and maybe there's another character who's like a warlord that's supposed to groom him to lead the armies and such. And each character or each player character could have a different mindset, but collectively they're all loyal to this one individual. And every once in a while they'll have their little verbal spat, right? It's the hey, we're all different alignments and we're going to argue about things, but there's one unifying factor. And I think that's where Black Panther really shines, that you don't need to have characters always at each other's throats. You can show strong characters, yes, extremely strong female characters, without making them damsels in distress. The sex of the character doesn't matter if the writing is good and the execution is even better. So we get a chance to see this in this movie. Zevron says, your character's being trained to take the role as king. You learn how to deal with the clan leaders, help the people, explore your lands and others. Your father or mother is the current ruler, but is too old and frail to act as protector. Sure, and what a great way to have like an external threat, and maybe the parents send the child away, and then your PC grows into this person after being exiled, because, hey, we all know when the king or queen is frail, the enemies will start to grow and become more emboldened in their actions against the rulership. And so maybe you're sent away to protect you, and these other loyal factions in the kingdom are like, oh, you're going to send the prince or princess away. Well, hell, I'm going to follow them. I'm going to make sure they're all right. Rickard says, speaking of someone that's playing a king in exile of sort, it's hard to balance the needs of the nation and its place in the world, which is another story element we can pull from, because Black Panther is the King of Wakanda. It's not about punching villains in the face, right? Okay, let me take that back. It is about punching villains in the face, but more or less, it's not about being an individual punching villains in the face. It's about your actions as a political leader and the ramifications it could have on your country when you start punching villains in the face. It's do I act for my own agenda? Like, I think this is better, or am I acting in regards to the people, and that might go against what I truly feel, right? Hey, I want to expose my country to the rest of the world, but my people might be in danger, so then I won't do it, right? Zevron says, Rickard says, and the adventuring party, as they are not invested in the nation. Oh, I see where you can go with that, where the king is invested in the nation, the PCs, the other PCs around them, or even NPCs may not be. Rickard says, it's easy if you're Black Panther with your own retinue. It's another if you're part of the Avengers and the needs of that party might not align at all with that of the nation. Which has always been a thing with the Black Panther character in the comic books, similar to, say, a Silver Surfer, or I'm trying to think of some other characters where there's never been a consistent Black Panther comic book. It's always come back after fits and sputters, and that's mainly because Black Panther has always been that character that's like, hey, you need me now. Hey, I'm going to show up and help with this thing, or there's a global event that where Black Panther's like, oh, well, today is going to affect my nation. So yeah, I'm going to help you guys out, sticks around for a little while, and then goes back and goes away. Kind of like I guess Aquaman and Prince Namor would fall into that category as well, where hey, I'm a part-time superhero on a team, part-time leader of a nation, so I can't hang around a lot. So that's a very common thing. Hey, Janny, what's going on? Zevron says this character really requires some buy-in from the others because it can quickly become this character's campaign and others are extras, especially if they don't care about the nation. Exactly. And what was displayed in the Black Panther movie was, of course, every character was motivated by their care of their nation. They may have disagreed about how to go about doing it, like the border tribe, the character from the border tribe that was like, we're not letting in immigrants and refugees into our nation. We shouldn't be doing that. He's like, but if you want to send me out into the outer world with some weapons, I'm down with that. And then, then you have another character that's like, no, we need to, even if it's a little bit, we've got spies everywhere. We need to help people out, as best we can because we have the ability to help people out. So you would have to have tons of buy-in, even if it is, it would be an equivalent to me would be the Knights of the King Arthur's court, and one of those characters is playing King Arthur. Even if King Arthur in a King Arthur's court was an NPC, the other players would have to buy into it, right? It's the hey, I think we should go about this in a different way, but ultimately I'm loyal to this one individual who pulled the sword from the stone. And so I would think it's no different. And in the Black Panther movie, we got a lot of that spotlight got to shine around to different people. So it would behoove the game master and the other players to allow the spotlight to move around and to shine on different people. Side note, yeah, the CGI in Black Panther was a little bit like, it wasn't its strong suit. I think the short, punchy dialogue and every character having their own arc, their own opinion, I think shined in Black Panther. It wasn't the CGI. I think the CGI could have done some more massaging, and a couple of more millions of dollars, I think, could have been massaged. Zevron said, you could have an interesting opposition with a Killmonger character, a character that wishes to take over the nation and wipe away the traditional status quo. Yeah, Killmonger. How many memes and how many people have said, oh, Killmonger was right? Ignoring, okay, how many people were swayed by this character after ignoring the fact that he put a bullet in his girlfriend, shot his own ally, wanted to destroy the traditions of a whole nation, choked an old woman for daring to think that there would be someone to come after him because he knew in his heart of hearts that he would be the last of his own kind, that he was not trying to leave a greater legacy. He was trying to blaze his own path and raise himself into a higher position of power. He wasn't about a greater good. He was about himself and doing self and grand. He was lifting himself up on a pedestal and wanted no others. But he was charismatic, and it's funny how hate and revenge and those emotions fuel us and have us squinting. It puts blinders on us, and we tend to ignore all the stuff on the outside because our emotions are high, and hate is a great fuel to get people behind you. So yeah, Killmonger, yeah, he was right, but he was wrong. And so the way the character was portrayed, someone stealing his legacy, lying about his existence, and even what was not really expressed in the movie, Killmonger's dad was actually going to break out his mom, who was imprisoned at the time because of their affiliation with like the political parties in the United States. So anyway, Rickard says it's hard to play the character that is the ruler because you need to be able to use your status, but you really need to master the art of delegation. You kind of become part GM in a way. I'm going to agree with you on that because there is a balance. You could easily fall off that razor's edge and either become a figurehead with no power and no influence, and you're just another NPC, and maybe noble is written on your character sheet, but you don't have any noble influence at all, or you fall on the other edge where you're solving every problem by throwing around your noble heritage and your noble influence before any of the conflict even starts. Like, I'm a noble, you better do this for me, and then sitting back, wiping your hands at a situation like, oh well, I'm done. There is a balancing act to that. Yeah, so everyone says, as much as I was swayed by Killmonger, I realized he would probably be against me because I'm only half black. He didn't really have any qualms about killing his own people in his own country. And remember, he thought he was king, right? And he started a civil war in his own country to get what he wanted to get started, and he ignored his entire council of people to warn him against what he should do. So yeah, don't have any hard feelings for Killmonger, as great as a character as it was, and as great of a line that he had at the end of that movie. That movie encapsulated a ton of different living lifestyles of Africans and African Americans here in the States and some around the world in terms of their identity and where their identity originates from and how they view it from the outside. So yeah, Killmonger represented not being African, but being African American, and finding out that, wait, we had a country that could have like changed the course of history and you didn't do it. That's where he becomes very influential. Jenny says, haven't seen the film, but it sounds like a classic case of the end justifying the means. Most villains tend to do that. Yes. I can't suggest more seeing the Black Panther movie. It is, don't be influenced or dissuaded from seeing the movie just because the movie is called Black Panther. I mean, no one feels that way when they see a Superman movie, and there's a plenty of ends justifies the means in those kind of movies as well. Zevron says, I remember seeing art of Killmonger with golden eyes like an Asimar and panther claws while outside the suit. I believe they never mentioned it, but I believe they combined him with a character called the Golden Jaguar, if I'm not mistaken. They never mention it in a movie, and his outfit, I believe, is the Golden Jaguar. So yes, absolutely. Rickard says Zevron says his mom died in a prison riot, I believe. Yes, I believe that is the case. They had to edit. You got to edit a movie down, but yes, I believe it was true that his mom died in a prison riot. She was, I don't believe she was Wakandan though. I believe she was, she was born and raised in the United States, and that's where he came from. I believe, I could be wrong. They don't mention it in the movie, and there are some, there's always some notes and creators' influences that don't make it to the screen, but that's what they intended it to be. Rickard says, the ends justify the means. It's easy to agree with the end goal and equally easy to ignore the means because you wish too hard by a desire for the ends. Yeah, Thanos is the exact same way. Thanos ends justify the means. I'm going to save the universe no matter how many people I have to kill to get there. And of course, that's how Dungeons and Dragons trope is that. I'm going to kill the pregnant, lady orcs and the children because the ends justify the means of they're going to grow up to be chaotic, evil monster manual creatures, right? Exactly. Zevron says, nope, she was from Oakland and his dad fell for her while on assignment. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So, what are some, as a PC, we kind of been focusing on PC, right? Like, hey, if I'm going to play Black Panther, here's what's going on. And the, well, before we move away from PC to say NPC or adversary or something, playing a Black Panther character also means that if you're someone who loves to min-max your character, you love to be to really massage the game rules to make your character the best at what they do, uh, and to be so-called an overpowered OP character. uh, the Black Panther movie kind of represents the ability to play that character within a group of other people by allowing other people to shine. It's not you always going first, always being in the front, always, you know, being the first to act and solve the situation. It's rather, here's a character who's like, yeah, I'm the biggest, baddest, and best, but I can't be everywhere at once. So hey, listen, I'm going to go left. You go is even better. Oh no, it's telling me your connection is unstable. I hope that didn't mess up the stream too much. Um, Rickard says more referring to people other than the villain. The ends justify the means. Yes, 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 yes. Referring to, yeah, the ends justify the means. In terms of like people justifying their actions and the things that they do and the harm that they bring, when it becomes easy to wrap up your actions in terms of the ends justifying the means, because you can always go down that rabbit hole of causing more and more harm, more and more death, more and more pain and suffering to people. Jane says, "You're back. Yay." Yeah. YouTube's going, yeah, you're putting out our live streams on our servers. Zebron says, perhaps to take over the king or queen rule, you need to do the combat ritual like in the movie, and after you are awarded with after I'm assuming afterwards you are awarded with a magic potion that emboldens you permanently. I like that. And here's the thing that I think people are confused about. They're like, it doesn't make sense that a nation is ruled by a combat ritual. What they're not paying attention to is the individuals that take place in the combat ritual are groomed by their own tribes people. So those individuals, before they even get into the combat ritual, have been groomed as individuals they think most represent their ideals, not just physically, but politically, mentally, socially, educationally. Like this is, M'Baku just isn't the biggest Jabari, white ape or whatever. He's also the person who best represents the direction their tribe should go, which is basically leave us alone, and the best way their technology should go, which in basically he's like, why are we giving it away and why are we still using it, right? It's not, hey, I'm just the biggest and baddest person. It's I'm the biggest and baddest person who is also educated, at least as far as their tribes people think, and has our best political agenda in the forefront, at least as far as that particular tribe feels. But yes, I do like the idea of, to take over the king or queen rule, you need to do the combat ritual. What a great way. You could even incorporate that into a game where, hey, to gain your next level, you've got to go through this combat ritual. I mean, why not make gaining levels an actual in-game reason for why things are happening, which is something I was going to go into as far as NPCs and world building. But I'm going to Rickard says, I would not want to have to try to create a good character of that. Stat wise, maybe with roles, it might be doable. I don't know. There's some people who are pretty good at massaging the rules in a lot of role playing games. There's some people who are like, hey, if I pick this right race, class, background combination with the proper spells, I'm both physically, mentally, and socially, superior to everybody. There's always people that, hey, if I picked a certain multi-class at a certain level and pick the proper feats, that is a thing in our gaming community. So you could embrace that instead of going, I don't want you doing that and making an OP character. Instead, if that's the kind of person you are, you can say, hey, listen, I am going to massage my character to be the best at everything, but here's how my character is going to fit in with everyone else. Zevran says, also, Wakanda has been in peace and thrived and is technologically advanced beyond the rest of the planet by decades. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that is the point of that was the point of the movie, right? It's like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Don't break the peace. Don't get rid of our illusory force field, right? Like, don't do that. Rickard says you would need 12 plus in every stat, though. I guarantee. Listen, get on YouTube. I guarantee you there are people out there who are doing these. Don't even YouTube, Google it. I guarantee you there's people who have the ability to take the rules and massage it to at least try to do that. Zevran says you could add other players as your backup, maybe have them raised to an advisor or bodyguard. The player is still just as important at the table, but allows them to be involved. And that's exactly right. Jenny says, or have friends fudge the rituals. Yeah, but what Zev is saying, okay, having player characters, like you're saying, a bodyguard, advisor, the royal assassin or spy, the royal educator, right? These people could represent those individuals in this character's background. And so the pinnacle character, the OP character is the one who points at the other characters and goes, hey, advisor, what do you think I should do in this situation? And hey, royal medic, I'm going to order you to help save my people. And like, okay, sure, because they're the royal medic, right? Hey, royal assassin, one of my enemies has been sabotaging the power plants in my nation or something, or poisoning the water supply. I want you to help solve this. I know I'm very capable, but I'm also the king or queen, so I want you to do this. Yeah, Zevran says, so a fight could be 2-on-2. Why not? You can rip it apart. Why does a combat ritual even have to be 1-on-1? It could be group against group. It could be tribe against tribe. It could be nation against nation or faction against faction. And no one says it has to be combat specific. It could be challenge specific. You must scramble up to the top of the mountain peak and retrieve the blue flower. You see what I did there? I hinted towards Batman. But anyway, yeah, it could be scramble up the mountainside, and it might take a week to make it up there. And your group must work together to fight the challenge. It could be an obstacle course. It could be fighting a golem that is part of the combat, this combat ritual that has never been defeated, or you have to strike the golem in a specific location to get it to shut down. And as a group, only a group could work together to distract the golem from one side so somebody can come behind it or whatever. Or maybe a powerful monster is summoned from another region that you have to dispatch, or what have you. It doesn't necessarily need to be 1-on-1 combat, because as was mentioned in I believe Joseph Keenan mentioned in the comment section in a prior video, some of these characters shine better 1-on-1. A lot of superhero characters are like 1-on-1. It's like me and the spotlight is on me. But yeah, you could change it up, gladiator combat, whatever. Jenny says, or even 1-versus-1, but your friends poisoned the opponent's food the other day, so it'll be weak, etc. Or they're doing it against you. That could be a lead up to it, right? Trying to massage the rules of the combat before it happens. So each person's trying to sabotage the other person's efforts before the combat even starts by using poison or making loud noises so they can't get sleep or what have you. Zevran says, as an NPC villain, it could very much be you are trying to expose a spy, but without proof. You appear as a traitor, so you are breaking the law to save the king or queen. That's a very good one. I love underdog, mistaken identity, blamed for crime but really innocent type tropes, because that's not only is it a good trope and we've seen it before, but it automatically sets up tension where, especially if you talk about it beforehand, session 0, and go, listen, guys, you guys are going to be on the run. Everyone thinks you're the bad guy. Everyone thinks you're the person who tried to assassinate the king or queen, and we know it's not true. But your ultimate mission is to expose the true traitor behind the kingmaker. You expose the kingmaker, not the king, and just go for a run. You're accused of killing someone. You're accused of sabotage. Accused of selling secrets to the enemy, and so now you're a traitor. You're a treasonous party, and you're on the run or something. So that could be that's absolutely a trope you can play with. And if using Black Panther as a NPC, this is a person, if you want to make them neutral, Black Panther absolutely represents someone who's neutral, because here's someone who would never let anything nefarious happen to his own kingdom. So yes, this person could be an ally and could also be an extremely powerful enemy, especially if the PCs have to move in and around or through this nation that is very xenophobic, has nothing, they want nothing to do with the outside world, but they have very powerful technology or access to magic or psionics, or they have alien technology or something of that nature. And so, this king could go, well, I'm not going to send my troops after you, but I'm telling you to stay out of my country. And the PCs are like, man, we can't stay out of his country. He's got assassins and spies in his country. They're shape changers. They've infiltrated. We need to stop them. And so now this king or queen and their extended retinue, their extended family and loyal followers are like, I thought I told you to get out of here. Like, we're going to hunt you down and arrest you and maybe even convict you, or by our laws, third strike and you're executed or something like that, right? So yes, this person could be this person could be hunting them down in their own nation, and the PCs are like, going after the bad guys, running from the good guys in a way. Zevron says, as an NPC ally, you could just talk to them. You have a person who has massive shoes to fill, and by ritual can only take over once the old leader dies. No one to talk to about the weight, what to do, etc. Yeah, it's funny how often pulling out the sword or the pistol is the way to solve things. But yeah, just talking to them, maybe one of the PCs is just like, look, I'm the face of the group. Oh, how about we just talk to him and try to solve this situation? So yes, as an NPC ally, yes, you could. Why not? Talking to someone is solving a challenge, right? The obstacle is not fighting them or running away from them. It could be the obstacle is convincing them over a 24-hour period, or convincing them by showing them evidence that they do have spies or assassins in their own organization or something. As everyone says, you could help influence them for the better, convince them how to be a good or just king or queen. Hell, you could even become the consort by starting a romance. Imagine a controversy of an outsider being married to the ruler. Absolutely. You could, what a great way to tie all of the characters to this one NPC, whether it's like King Arthur or Black Panther or this Egyptian ruler or anything, any derivation thereof, right? All the player characters could come from wildly different backgrounds, but they're all loyal to the crown. And you say, session 0, listen, you can make whatever character you want, but you're loyal to the crown. You're loyal to this maybe just and noble leader, but they are being persuaded to do other things. They're being manipulated. They're being pulled in too many directions, maybe even pulled in too many directions by the player characters themselves. Like, hey, I'm going to play a wizard and I'll be the advisor to the king. And then someone else is like, I'm going to play the rogue assassin and I'll be the royal assassin to stop their enemies. And I'm going to play the religious leader. I'm going to play a cleric who who's an oracle and suggests, the religious doctrine that happens in this nation. And so all the player characters could surround and be emissaries and support the kingdom on their own, traveling in and out. And maybe a great way to have players who can't show up because they're all doing other things, whether they're the royal engineer building the aqueducts and such, or building the pyramids, and then another character could be the royal farmer or something, controlling the harvests and such, and they show up every once in a while, and they can't show up because they're already it's harvest time or what have you. Scott Post says being part of being that leader is keeping your powerful party members on the straight and narrow, as they do want to solve problems in the efficient violent method, while you have more of a political agenda, which mixing the in-game and out-of-game metagame thing. What a great example to go. The king says to you, hey guys, listen, you might not want to go in guns blazing, because if you do that, you'll start a war. Or if you go in guns blazing, our other allies bordering our nation are going to consider that an act of war. And the other players are like, oh, whoa, I didn't think about that part. Oh, okay. So this king, like Odin, being the NPC, could absolutely, smack Thor in the back of the head, like, hey, kid, listen, if you pick up your hammer and go attack the giants, they're going to start a war with us. So don't be stupid, you moron. A good example of that would be a great example of doing that. Now, also, you could, in this game setting, you could also have the kings, like you could make up 5 to 10 positions in the king or queen's royal entourage, and then have the player characters make up a character that fits into it. Like, listen, we have a royal navy, we've got an army, we need an advisor, we need someone to teach the king or queen, educate them, we need an oracle, we need a spy, we need, and then each player says, you hand this out like, okay, we have 7 positions. Guys, when you make up characters, you're loyal to the crown, and make up your characters so they fit into this. And someone might go, you know what, I was thinking about making the rogue assassin, but instead I'm going to go ranger. I'm just going to reflavor it and go, okay, whatever. Oh, that sounds good. Even you could even be an emissary from a neighboring nation that's not part of this, but you're just a diplomat that happens to be with this group. Like, no, I'm not from this nation. I'm from, the nation that's on the other side of the ocean or other side of the mountain ranges or whatever. Or I'm the other side of I'm from the other oasis, but I'm just here to represent my outside nation, and I'm just a diplomat. So I'm supposed to be here permanently in a diplomatic fashion. Rickard says to add to that, if you do something as the leader or in the name of the leader, whatever you do reflects upon the nation and their relations with allies, trade partners, etc. I love that fact, adding that you could, some players might ignore that in the beginning. That's going to happen. You're going to have players who don't really care about the ramifications of their personal actions reflecting on their nation when it comes to like trade and allies and such. But as the game master, every time they make those mistakes, you could keep ramping up the problems and issues and things. When the characters come back to their nation, they're like, no, we're not giving you any more supplies. Well, why not? Because you started a war. Like, food prices, you're starving out our people because we had a trade alliance to have our people fed, and now because you wanted to punch this other king in the face because he said something rude to you, now he stopped food flowing across our borders. So yeah, you're sure it felt good at the time, but we've got 10,000 people that need grain and wheat and I don't know, corn and maize, and they're not getting it, and the winter's coming, so you need to fix it. You need to go back and apologize. Right? That would be a great story, especially when the player character is like, I'm not apologizing. I'm holding my breath and folding my arms. Zev says, you need a Hulk in that entourage. Hell yeah. yeah. Don't worry about it, Zev. I get it. And Zevron says, and that leads to supportive supporters of Killmonger. Yeah, yeah. But hey, maybe one of the player characters who can no longer join is like, dude, take my character, make him a Killmonger type character, which is a thing too. What, a PC turning evil? Why the hell not? You know, why not do that? Also, you, for world building in the Black Panther movie, you had different tribes, Border Tribe, Jabari Tribe, and the other tribes people that they showed uh, that were members of the council, and they showed that showed up when the ritual combat was there. In your own game, you could have, mind you, they don't have to be called tribes. They could be called factions, they could be called nations, or what have you. But each of those tribes could have their own types of traditions and the way they go about fighting and using magic or psionics or technology in your setting, and the player characters could each come from each of those separate tribes. In the movie, they didn't have time to tell you whether, you know, Black Panther's girlfriend came from one tribe, and then Okoye came from a different tribe, and then, you know, the Okoye's husband, who was part of the Border Tribe, came from a different. Like they couldn't go through all that. Or, you know, the gentleman with the giant size lip plate, he was head of another tribe, and he was a council member, and you know, he was kind of enigmatic, right? Like, was he evil? Was he good? You know, what was his point, right? I'm going to say it, like, lip plates kind of make me feel like, oh, it's like having like really big gauges in like your ears and stuff, or a ton of like piercings or brandings or something. It's like, oh, I don't want to look at it, but I can't turn away. I mean, those individuals represent their own particular culture in the context of a larger nation. So in world building, you can do the same thing. And of course, it doesn't have to be African, but it is a great starting point for a setting, especially if one nation has maybe come back from, but let's say that a bunch of these nations have come back from a post-apocalypse, and they're all coming back from a great war. So maybe one tribe had to use very unscrupulous methods to survive, while another tribe was able to hide in the mountains, and another tribe had to wander around and learn survival skills before they came back. And so each of them learned different skills and had certain traditions and such. Zevron says, I'd be the player that says that, let me burn it all down. Yeah, get rid of the tradition and burn it down, right? Zev continues to say, the open-handed style of the main tribe matches that of Panther claws. Replace bludgeoning damage with slashing. Yeah, I would do that. Monk, you know, reflavor a monk so that they represent different animal styles, or different classes. Different classes represent different animal or natural styles in this world. I would do that. Fighters represent rhinos, and wizards represent, I don't know, owls or something, or necromancers are represented by jackals, and ravens or something. Flavoring druids with, I mean, if you're going to go like African or something, maybe you say in my game, druids can only have certain animals from certain places. So if you're in a desert, it's like sidewinder snakes and scorpions. But if you're in the jungles, it's bonobos and gorillas and orangutans or something. I don't know. Rickard says short-term and long-term agendas. But making a list of those and putting a time limit on some of those short and long-term agendas would be great. You know, when the PCs start to ignore their responsibilities, the hammer starts to fall, right? The time starts ticking down, and what a great way to put plenty of responsibility on the player characters. Even in 5th edition, you have honor and renown, so you could pull that out of the Dungeon Master's Guide and say, hey guys, we're using the honor and or renown systems, so it's not just about you, but it's about the people you represent. And you could even you could even tug on their strings by saying, not only do you represent the entire nation, you also represent your smaller faction that lives near the river or lives near the desert or lives near the swamps. Okoye, Zevran says Okoye was a paladin, oath of the crown, multi-classed into cavalier, or with the feat that prevents movement, or polearm, is it polearm fighter? What's the feat with the long poles and spears and stuff? Paladin oath. Heck yeah! Remember, let's remember this. Okoye never broke her oath to the crown. She fought. She rationalized at a point when she found out that Black Panther was still alive, right? Pole arm master. Thank you. Wow. But remember, Okoye was loyal to Killmonger. When Killmonger sat on that throne, she was pissed off. She didn't like it, and she was willing to work against him when the circumstances fit into her oath, right? And she even spoke to other members of the royal entourage and said, listen, you need to go and I'm not going to go because I'm loyal to the crown and what it represents. So here you have a player character, as if it was a real game, right? But here you do have a player character, Okoye, who's like, I'm a Dora Milaje, I protect the king, that's my point. I understand you have to leave, go ahead. Everyone says, I am loyal to T'Challa. I am loyal to Wakanda. Exactly. And that difference of purpose changed in the movie, right? Not only did they plant their flags on different sides, they also picked up their flags and moved them around. So I think the Black Panther movie also teaches us that you can both make a character who disagrees with everyone else and yet alters or changes they don't fold their arms, plant their flag, and say no, right? Hold their breath and it's like, no, I'm not changing what I'm doing. That's what my character would do, right? They didn't do that. Okoye was like, no, I'm loyal to the crown. And the others are like, no, I'm loyal to Wakanda. Okay, you're going to have to leave because he's going to order me to go after you. And then while she's sitting there, when the minute she finds out that T'Challa is still alive, she's like, oh, remember the rules are you have to take out the king. It's either they either have to, what is it? It's you either they have to tap out. they basically have to tap out. Like, it's not to the death, right? So you just threw him off a cliff. You didn't really win. You have to have this fight again. And of course, Killmonger was like, I ain't fighting again. I mean, not really. I'm the king. I'm not giving this up. So yes, I absolutely love the fact that you pointed that out, Zevran. Like, paladin with an oath, polearm master, perfect fit. As everyone continues to say, it would also be interesting to see the other tribes form alliances, repair broken relationships from past rulers. I would guess that we just saw a very thin sliver of the political maneuverings that happen in that nation from the outside. Yes, they all claim I am Wakandan, right? That, like today, there's many people who say I am, and then you fill in your national pride. But within their own group, I'm sure there's backbiting. I'm sure there are people who have their own personal agendas. They want to push they have their own personal desires. There are people who are very extremely nationalists, who are trying to work with outside of their own group, forming other alliances. I think that's a great strings to pull on. Absolutely. As everyone says, while the Jabari were considered fringe, they are now some of the king's bodyguards and army. And even in the movie, we thought that they were the usurpers, right? M'Baku was the usurper, but he really wasn't. So funny how through one lens, you think, oh, this person's a rebel and they're going to ruin everything. And then through another lens, you go, oh, man, that makes a lot of sense. All right, babe. Love you, babe. Go Black Panther. All right, love you, babe. Love you, babe. Have a good one. Thank you. Bye. So, yeah, from the context of the movie in the beginning, you know, they come in through the crack in the from out of the shadows, and they're just like, roo, 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 you know what I mean? I love that. But getting everybody hyped, and we're just like, who are these? You know, so everyone said, and then you learn they are bronze dragon. Somebody's mixing in a little bit. No, yeah, shoot, I'm thinking of Bronze Tiger from DC, but you could mix that Bronze Tiger from DC, you know, the martial arts and all that would be sweet. Absolutely sweet. But when the Jabari tribe showed up, everyone's like rolling their eyes, like, oh, here we go. Here they go again. And, you know, of course, M'Baku's thing was like, listen, you guys are crazy. And you got a child who's the head of technology who is throwing our traditions to the wind. You know, she's giving a middle finger to everybody. Like, really? Everyone Bronze Tiger would be awesome. I think so, too. I think so too. But also, I think something else that makes Black Panther, the movie and the whole concept, really special is it takes 2 minutes to watch that movie and get past the racial thing. Like, there isn't in that movie amongst themselves, color doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Here's a great story told by a bunch of different people with a lot of great cast and characters that we all mix and mingle and figure out who we identify with, who we don't identify with. And that movie sparked discussion amongst a lot of people who are fans of that movie. Even now, you can bring up that movie and people are like, Killmonger was right. No, he was wrong. Black Panther was boring. Okoye was a great character. Oh, no, they weren't. Blah, blah, blah. The Jabari and M'Baku was funny when he was like, you know, like, you know, you're not going to speak here. You know, like, I'll feed you to my children. And he laughs back like, nah, we're vegetarians, which the largest apes in the world are super powerful. They are vegetarians. I don't know how the hell they have such lean muscle mass, but damn. But yeah, so what a great example for our RPG content to pull from. If you want to make a game that deals with politics and kings and queens and loyalty to the crown and being from a nation that is surrounded by possible enemies and allies and the machinations within, absolutely. Rickard says, am I the only one who is tired of Western fantasy and love to explore other places? You and me both, man. You and me both. Like, is it always this? It's not getting rid of it. It is, let's have other choices. And I've always been that way, which is a side note. It kind of bugs me when I see, I have to stay away from the negativity when people are like, why does a movie like Black Panther need to exist? Because I always go, well, why doesn't it? Right. I don't complain when there's 19 other movies that exist that aren't all, you know, a primarily Black and African-American cast. So why are you complaining? Like, there's room. There is no consensus. There's no limit on how much originality there is. There's always space for more. And I think amongst the RPG community, there's always space for more. Dead Man brings up Eclipse Phase, 2 words. And oh my gosh. But anyway, getting back into the chat before I have to go, it says, but DBJ, it's hard for others to hear you say color doesn't matter when you are color yourself. Automatically makes others not listen. I know you're being sarcastic as hell, man. But yes. Sometimes let's remember when people say there's an agenda, sometimes it's the person that says there's an agenda that has the agenda. There isn't one. There's a superhero from Africa, just as if there would be a superhero from, I don't know, Central America or Brazil and Madagascar and Thailand and Norway and Iceland and I don't know, Mongolia. That's what he is. So like, why complain about it? Yeah, Rickard says it's not a zero-sum game. Not at all. Not at all. Like Scott Poe saying, I prefer more Conan style setting. The world is still too primitive to have a flavor of civilization. And even Conan, the writer who wrote Conan, ripped the cultures in Conan from different cultures around our world. So shit, use it. Make one part of your world be like Aztec Indian, and another part like from India, and get another part Mongolian, and another part from Thailand, and another part from I don't know, Eskimos or something. Like I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass, and you could really pull on those strings and go, I'm going to make all this weird. And then here's another way to really reflavor it: change the racial types. You don't have to. I don't understand the idea of like, oh well, they're going to be Vikings, so I'm going to make them look exactly like, blue-eyed or green-eyed and freckled, Caucasian people. Like, why do you don't need to do that. Just change all the racial types up. Give them unique traits. Flip it a little bit. Be a little bit more original. Everybody doesn't. My feeling is I don't want people to all look and act and be like me. I don't. There already is me. I'm not a narcissist. I don't need people to agree with me or be from my culture. So I don't understand people who are like, I've had people tell me that Black people don't exist in their game, yet there are like elves and dwarves and stuff. And I'm just like, really, dude? Like, really? Now, mind you, I was a kid at the time. As an adult, I tell them to F themselves. But I mean, that's a real thing in our RPG community. That is a thing, even in the collective nerdy community, where people get really offended by that. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, really? Zephyr said, or you could be the Division 2 with tons of political stuff dripping from every inch of the game, but saying in every interview it's not political. When you make something not political, that's a political statement. To be honest with you, that really is a thing. Me saying that we should be inclusive of everything and leave more room at the table for everyone is a political statement of saying of being opposed to saying that there should only be one type of gaming and only one type of people in the gaming community. That's foolish. Rickard says, building something on an agenda tends to go sideways. Building it on a good story with an agenda, it's a good story, and that's the important part, right? Exactly. Exactly. And hell, even and Rickard goes on to say, to be fair, I do find it a bit of a sensitive topic, with cultural appropriation being such a hot topic at the moment. Switching things up can really fall into a tricky situation. Well, here's my defense of that. If someone were to create something that somehow offended me and my sensibilities, my response to that is, at least you tried. Because the opposite of that would be to not do it at all and to ignore it and to become so enclosed that once someone tries to suggest, for example, in our RPG community, people get upset when the creators say, hey, I want to make artwork that includes other cultures. People get upset by that. Why? Are you that afraid of a piece of art? Are you that thin-skinned that you don't want one more piece of art that represents someone who doesn't look like you? You see what I'm saying? I prefer someone to attempt and fail rather than never attempt it at all. So I understand that you can get a lot of people who like really come at you for doing something that failed. I'm looking at you, Oriental Adventures, for Dungeons and Dragons. But if it wasn't for Oriental Adventures, you would never have people coming behind it and making Legend of the Five Rings, right? If no one tried it, then the first person is going to fail. That first person to climb up, the Himalayan mountains is going to die. They're going to fail. Someone's going to fail at doing it. It's the people that come behind it and learn from those mistakes and go, you know what? That wasn't really good. Here's a better way of doing it. And then so on as things grow. So I would rather someone try and fail than not try it at all. But see, I am I'm gonna say I'm the minority in that. Not, not racially. I'm the minority in trying to, spark new ideas and encourage people to do different things rather than going back to the old tropes and folding their arms and holding their breath, right? Uh, Scott Post is saying I don't want to be political, is saying I like being at the whim of others' politics. Exactly. Like, right, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. At the same time, I think you should stand for I stand for other people's rights to say and believe what they want. So at the same, I mean, hell, this country, everyone, it seems here politically is like trying to push for a dictatorship, no matter what political side you're on. And you're like, dude, we live in a democracy, which means things are democratically chosen, which means you're going to have people who don't think like you, and you're going to have to, I don't know, this is crazy, come to a consensus and maybe work with them and tolerate their different opinion from you. Wow. Rickard says you're level-headed. Yeah. Well, I'm an extreme moderate in every sense of the term, right? I just feel like I don't have a lot of energy for hate. It's an easy fuel, but it's too easy, and it leads down a path that I just don't want to go. The role-playing games have literally and figuratively saved my life, and I feel like I don't want to be the spread of hate and creating little micro separations in the RPG community. So I hear you, Seth. Yeah, Scott Post says people have the right to say what they want, but so does everyone else. So we are still responsible for their words. Some cannot quite handle that part. Yeah, I know. People are like, I don't want to be PC. I want to say whatever I want. And I'm thinking, you have the right to say whatever you want, and I also have the right to respond to you in kind. Everyone wants it one side. Like, so everyone says, no, democracy, only one side or the other, said the rest of the country. Exactly. So that being said, if you really want to play with it, Rickard says, I would also add, people are listening, but few take the time to understand. Yeah, everything is memeified now. Everyone wants to boil down to like one sentence and a photograph, and that's it. No one wants to sit down, listen to what other people have to say and go, I never thought about that. Or, boy, I really disagree with what you're saying. I'm going to sit back and be quiet and let you say it first. And then I'm going to respond with my opposition without either yelling or calling you names or assuming that you are labeling something you are anti, fill in your national or faction or loyalty, drugs, I'm conservative, prostitution, I'm liberal. Yeah. Gotta always shoot. Somebody's always got to pick a side, as if you can't pick everything. Like you know what I mean. I don't I don't see people. What about the vanilla chocolate people out there? I like vanilla ice cream. I like chocolate ice cream. I'm not talking about the skin tone. I don't see people out there like bitching and moaning that vanilla and chocolate exist in the same ice cream stand, right? No one's protesting outside that chocolate ice cream is being served alongside vanilla ice cream. People walk inside, they pick their flavor, they sit down, they have fun after going to a movie, they smile with each other and they go, what? It's like, they need to remove vanilla ice cream from next to my chocolate ice cream. Yeah, Rickard says understanding is a three-edged sword. Your side, their side, and the truth. All right, guys, I'm getting a little caught up in this. Thank you very much for joining me this Friday. We will come back Monday with Game of Thrones. I think Tywin Lannister is going to be our first one, but we're going to pick smaller characters. We're going to pick Hodor. We're going to go after, hell, we're going to go maybe the Golden Company. We're going to, of course, go after the main characters, 8 or 7 Wisdom Jon Snow. We're going to go after Cersei and Sansa and Ramsay Bolton and all those kind of things. Scott Post says good times. Yeah. So guys, thank you very much. We'll go back to this. I got to head off to work. Oh, Sunday, the last 2-hour page through review, almost a summary and a little bit of game mastering stuff for Invisible Sun. Dead Man the Storyteller. Hold the door. You know, oh my God. But yes, we'll go into what can we steal from that. And everything. Rickard says we'll be there. You don't have to be there. I'm just announcing it, and then those who want to partake can. So it will be 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The very last page through review of Invisible Sun. So guys, everyone, take it easy. I'll see you later.